Let me give a shout out to VibrationOfTheOne. You are appreciated.
Hello. Testing. Jay on the mic again. So I hope everyone's well. These times I've taken some time to gather myself and not be completely lacking sleep before I actually do podcasts. So I think the last two I had been in creative mode too much and lacked sleep, and was a lot in the lightning round of thoughts in which they needed to come out, or I felt as if I would have not shared those. And today I feel different because I did a lot of reflecting, meditating, mindful eating, mindful chewing. I've actually had a very uncomfortable 2 weeks, and sometimes I feel like I'm explaining this to friends and close ones and loved ones, and they're like, why are you telling me? And I'm like, well, I'm trying to let you know where I'm at, that I'm not quite 100%. And challenges, whether your friends are this way or not, if you are a bubbly, shiny being that's able to always look at the sunny side of things, let's say, it strikes them as off-putting when you're not like that. I forget that you are also capable of those emotions. So I felt, on a personal level, the last while, I had actually consecutively bitten my cheek. The side of my cheek, you can look it up online. It's not fun. Eating is not fun. Talking is not fun. Any kind of activity is one of discomfort, and I had just actually healed it only to bite it again. So that was really frustrating, and most often than not, I don't talk about things that irk me. I try to do something about it. When I was trying a new thing where, not to complain, but if something is causing discomfort and is being misread as another emotion, I think it's kind service to your friends to let them know what's up. So I had a beautiful conversation today with my friends. Every message seems to be about podcasts. I like that you started a podcast. I like to maybe be on there with you, or would like some help in one of my creative endeavors. So I would like to say happy birthday to Omar, who's reached out, and we did a couple of brainstorming activities in the ways of making a short film, and perhaps taking the themes of, say, intentionality or Feng Shui towards the screen. And so, I'm doing this with a loose bunch of notes in front of me and seeing where the natural flow goes. This is how I'm doing it. And being that I didn't really think too much about Feng Shui, which is actually translated to wind, water. And if you can hear, I have a bubbly fountain going on in the background, which reminds me that water as an element must flow and must not be stagnant. And if I recall, Feng Shui is, if you want to put it simply, the idea that water and air can flow in your space and around things in a manner in which there are no blockages or impediments, big things in the way. And if you visualize it in such a simple way, and you look around your room right now, you can see and feel and or imagine what wouldn't flow and what would catch wind and pool up energies that they say can become stagnant. And so I've told people, whenever the conversation comes up, when I move to a new place, I set directions. I find out which directions the walls and windows are facing. And the funny thing about this conversation is the year prior, what was that, 2021, I had moved here with full intention to be in a creative space, a space of abundance, and a space to grow and expand and hopefully become more social, but that was a little bit difficult on the last year or so. And so the funny thing about the conversation was that I said, I actually put little pieces of tape in every corner and wall, and each one showed the direction. And so as I speak to you right now, I'm laughing. I am facing west right now, and my doorway is towards the, what is it? If I walk down there, I can't see right now, but over here my fridge is facing north. Past the fridge is north. So, to remind myself, even though I don't have anything or everything perfectly organized, when it does get messy and it does get unruly, although the funny thing is a lot of my space is color coordinated, so my friends joke, even if you throw a pile of things on the ground, it's all blue, white, tan, yellow, and your mess even looks neat. And that was a funny thing, but yes, if I look to the north, it is to say that is the health direction. And one of the things they say, if your health direction is full of trash and full of things that you don't need, and it's absent-minded dropping of your things, your bag, and that's there every day, that's getting, as they say, cluttered up, so your health might be off. But whether you believe that or not, I feel there's something inherent with us humans that when we set our intentions, that something happens. So I try to tell people it's visual intention setting, right? So every time I walk by my window, per se, which is facing southwest, I was laughing because there is an owl that I put in front of the window, which, is just a statue of an owl that I thought would remind me to be wise in my decisions. And next to it, I have a picture of a girl making a heart symbol. You may have seen it next to me when I play music. And that just always makes me laugh when I look out the window. And next to it, I just have a disco ball. And whenever the sun comes in, it radiates beams and fractals of light. And so when the sun comes in, it hits the room in all directions. And so I'm in the basement right now, which, used to be just full of clutter, and it was a lot of work to re-energize the stagnant energy. And it was a joy to do it. It was a lot of work. It was what my project was in the last year, as it's become the sanctuary for creativity and for deciding what the next step is for myself. And in that creating that sanctuary, the room, all our rooms, if you think of it this way, program our consciousness automatically without us thinking. So, you imagine if you had a picture of a serene sunset that was wide open, and that was the first thing you saw in your room, perhaps, when you woke up, you would get a different vibrational feeling or mood, as opposed to if you had a scene of something that made you feel cluttered, or if you had like pictures of trash or actual trash, you saw that every day, that would affect you. Some may even call that trash energy. And so what I love about Feng Shui is when you have certain areas with an intention, when that gets cluttered or messy, that you realize, oh, my intention isn't clear because that space is not clear. If I just clear that space and I have programmed that intention every time I go by that area, I feel clear. And so, if you think of other ways Feng Shui is useful, Feng Shui masters actually use or get hired by corporations or big businesses to improve the Feng Shui, because it goes beyond the room and it goes further into the expanse of ley lines and the directions and which ways rivers are facing and how the wind affects the area. And it seems quite, at a certain point, that's quite a bit. And the challenge of Feng Shui is you can't always have this space in how you want it to flow if the energy would be consistent or congruent to your intentions. And so, for instance, I used to live in an apartment where the Feng Shui was all good, except we had a bathroom down the hall. So if you think of the energy of the bathroom and all the roommates that were in there flushing all the time, the main walkway which we walk through is always the energy of the toilet or going to the washroom. And the ways to combat that in the ways of energy would be to perhaps deflect that energy or put a mirror on the outside of the door, and to keep the door closed when it is not in use, or put a curtain down or something. And it might be a little thing that could be on the borderline of imaginative fancy. But even if you have, like I have a little walkway here and I just put a little curtain up to create some separation from the door into the outside for when I sleep. And it makes a difference. It causes more of a cozy feeling. And so another thing I hang up is just reminders, quotes, perhaps little pieces of art that I've done, musical instruments. I need to put more things with friends or gifts to remind me of the value of connection to my friends. I'll shout out to Soul Shine podcast, Jessica's podcast on Podbean. I have a little area where I have a stone, which is a light purple stone, which was a symbol of our friendship. And so, again, you have these little things. It reminds me, oh, I have a solid friend. over there. Or, whatever may have you. Another thing is to big up yourself in some way. Hang your awards up in a place that you and others can see. Have some pride and value in things you've accomplished, an accomplishment area. One thing I have is a little trophy that I put up, and I wrote down busking in Kensington for sale, let's say. And it's quite silly, but when I see it, it reminds me of all the beautiful times I've had playing music for people and the gift of the many friends I've met through that venture. And so that's a little bit of Feng Shui and how it can be useful, or wind, water consciousness. And so I like to let people know I also think that way, the ways of my instruments. There is an intention when I go out and play. There is intention to share. There's this intention to open my heart and open my soul. And no matter what that may be, no matter how it is received or not received, or thrown back at me like we don't want what you have, I know that I set my intention and it will land with the honesty that I set it free. And so let me just take some time to say hello to my friend Anthony. Hope you're doing well. I just saw some of your messages. Just like to thank you again for helping me with all the technical aspects of getting on as a guest on the other last live stream last week. So thank you, my friend. I'd also like to thank Laura, who has listened to a couple of episodes, and we've been talking about writing and writing books. And so on that note, what I'm reminded of is that in this journey of being an artist, we have to have this subtle art of listening and balancing the excitement of our creations. And in this journey of moving this towards some social digital realm, there's, who knows, a false reality of numbers and subscribers and the influence that that may have, which may take away from your actual art of creating. And not to sound like that is something we should push against, but to just take care of our art. And it takes some time to know how to communicate to friends that are not filled with that lightning strike that can hit at any moment, in the sense that you can wake up and you are in a mad frenzy to create something, and then you stay up all night, and then you wake up the next day and you're half asleep. There's a state of incubating these ideas. And if you're socializing a lot, say through your phone, there's a lot of interruptions that can come through that take away from your initial present reality. And who was it? I believe Cal Newport said it was a residual activity that is running congruent to your present moment, so that it's in the back of your mind like a low-level anxiety, all of these messages popping up. But if you're aware of it and you put them in their place, as like, I will get to every message by Wednesday, And I'll get to a few today. I'll do some calls today. And that's been gold in helping me organize myself amongst friends and vocalizing that I need some time to create. And so I was in an email with Laura, and I was touching on that. And, just even like writing a book takes a lot of mental faculty to incubate that creation. And it's very analogous to also creating music or creating a painting. There's this channel that you're going through that it's easily taken away by the smallest distraction. So just wanted to share, that's always been a really tough thing for me to navigate through friends, family, and relationships. It can be taken as you're doing something that takes away from someone else's time and doing your best to communicate that you love and care for all your friends, but you love and care for your creativity and your passion, and that none should supersede the other. It's a balance. And if you are able to communicate that, some may call it boundaries. You could put it that way. Some may call it just, I need my time. And so, the other thing, let's say, that's been on my mind is a lot of the talk of the transition to the new earth and the new ways that humanity shall be moving. And it seems to be a lot of talk of a divide. And I've been wondering if that really is the case, that perhaps there's a third where the people that don't know what to choose will be on either end. But I believe that's still a state that it's not, perhaps it's an illusion of the dire need for the meeting of the emergency at hand. And so I'll say, it's just like other years that we thought an asteroid was going to hit us, or it's the time of the Kali Yuga, and we're all going down together. As in 2012, I had the most active phone and email I ever had, being as some see me as their advisor or friend to certain spiritual aspects of our reality. I had only channeled and answered, I believe there is not going to be doom, gloom, and death, and a world apocalyptic explosion en masse. I believe certain states of consciousness will have to be let go, and they will die. You will have a death of self, and something new will emerge. Well, you are still here in this spirit, physical being, but you look at the world differently with a new set of conscious perceptions, and that was my answer. And just like the year 2000, they thought all the computers were going to shut down, and they could have, but we would still just be here. That's the funny thing, right? And I heard a funny thing. If you're familiar with programming, there's an ancient programming language called COBOL. It's one of the first languages they used in programming. And I had heard it as an offhand remark that I believe Elon Musk had mentioned that we're still using these systems built on old programming. And I had brought that question or query to friends in the sense of if something was to reset, like the financial system, there would have to be some time for the system to shut down in order for the new system to run up again. And in that space, would that be something you would view as a rational step in which everyone knows something is shut down in order to bring the new system on board? And in that way, there would be no panic, no fear. So I had put that question to people with the resets, and that seems to be the topic, right? As we reach our 25-minute mark. And so, yes, it's perception. And some may say even meditation is the art of perception management. And even if you don't know anything about meditation, if I was to say to you, perception management, how do you organize your perceptions? First of all, on the physical sense, on a personal perception of your inner and outer world, and then on the extension of who you are, the perceptions that intermingle. There is much that can be realized in just sitting with yourself. And not all my friends are a fan of meditation, and I tell them I'd be a completely different person to converse with if I didn't have that state of choice and perception to shift, that this occurring activity in front of me is not necessarily the story. There could be many interpretations and facets. And so I'm a big promoter of, if you can find something in your day, doesn't even have to be traditional. I've just started up drawing again, and I find that to be meditative. So I've been enjoying drawing owners and their pets and their dogs, and my joy has been, I'm noticing that there's so much love between dogs and their owners, and so much respect and so much, excuse me, belching on the podcast. There's so much of a beautiful connection that I'm noticing with just even the placement of paws and hands and loving dog kisses. And I myself don't have a dog, but in the art of drawing from life, something I heard, don't know if Salvador Dali said it or if who's another favorite artist of mine. Well, somebody said that when you draw something, people will feel it if you have the love for the subject that you are trying to flesh out in pencil or whatever the medium you use. And so that's why I think even if it's the most simple drawing or the most simple loose representation of something, I believe there's something to that you can feel the love in the line, which something that I've had a lot of fun with, just looking at art like Matisse or things that are impressionist. See, the beautiful thing about art is it is impressions, it is feelings. It's not there to be pile of intellectualizing. And that's why it's always funny when somebody wants you to explain why you did something. And I don't believe I had mentioned it before, but I once met this beautiful artist. He was probably reaching his 70s. And first of all, I met his wife. I was just biking down, what street was it? College, I believe. There's a section there of galleries, and I was just popping my head in, being like, oh wow, look at all these artists, like taking the time to organize their things, taking their time to have a show. How beautiful. Where did the artist side of me go in the ways of painting and drawing? But then I didn't go into the sad story comparison. I went straight into, I want to see what these guys are doing. So I popped my head in, and being that, might have looked something like this, some say an interesting character, I caught the attention of the woman who was running the show, and she said, you want to come inside and look? And I said, this isn't a private event where I have to sign up and pay money or whatever. She's like, no, like you look very interested, so why don't you come in? This is my husband's show. And he's busy right now, but if you want to talk to him, feel free to look around. And so I was just happy to be there. And she told me that I was art. So I've gotten that before. I see the world as art. And she said it would be nice to talk about art with her husband as an embodiment of walking art. So in that, I got the story that he had not found anything to do in retirement and he wanted to stay active. So she used to be a painter, right? And so she asked, out of everything they had in the attic, would you want to try painting for fun? So she had everything there, like the books, the paints, they were all taken care of, so it was ready to go, and he just went for it. So here's the actual living embodiment of life begins after 50, because he had zero experience, and here we are in a show, in a gallery. And his name was Visedhi, so maybe I can put a link to that if I can find his website. But he taught me the most beautiful lesson when I actually got to talk to him. And so that's the other mark. I guess I'm in story time here a lot more. But I'll just finish up with this story. He was definitely curious about what I thought about his art and how art affects me in my daily life. And I said, his colors really bring me into a dreamlike state. It's almost like everything that he was representing was the aura form of what is in objects. So everything was very white, red, yellow, these bright colors. And so there's a certain sense of depth, like almost wearing 3D glasses, the old school ones that are blue and red. I said, that's what it reminds me of. And he said, I want to show you something that's quite funny. So we went around to another wall of his art that was in the show. There were the smaller ones, which weren't his giant landscapes. And then he showed me a picture of this being with kind of fire coming out of his head, kind of spiky looking hair. And he said, "This kind of looks like you." And it was so funny. And I said, maybe that's my aura too. And he said, yeah, I don't really know why I painted this. One day I thought, I want to paint a being and have, just the brightness emanating. And I came up with this, and it was uncanny. And he said, maybe I knew that I would meet you. And maybe that's why his wife wanted me to come into the show, actually, too. And they were very nice. We had wine, and, well, I did not have the cheese, being is in my vegan lifestyle, but they were very friendly, and that's the thing that really sits with me. These artists were new, and he didn't have schooling. And one of the things I said here, that he said, which I hold dear in my heart, is that oftentimes he meets students in school and they ask him so many questions about why did he make this decision? Why is the color like this? And he said, so is that what they teach you in school? Like you write essays about everything, and you explain everything to the finest detail, and everything is the technical aspect before it becomes a decided imprint, that everything has to be fully technified, if I can put it that way. And a lot of these students felt like they were doing the work, but they didn't feel creative. They didn't know how to jump. And he reminded me that don't worry what they told me in school, because those are just technical impressions. They're not impressions of the soul. They're not impressions of the thing that moves you. It's quite different from sitting down to a math problem, let's say, if I can put it that way. And not anything against math, or to create the duality that artists are in this camp and other people in the other camp. I love math for the sense of nodes and vectors make geometries, which make shapes, which make pattern, which make beautiful, endless fractals of our actual reality. And it's just a language, right? But we can get so stuck in our language. And so as I move forward into creativity, I'm really feeling that I should look at what I'm creating with new aspects of eyes and consciousness, and what it is to deliver, let's just say, a trace element, an impression of our humanity that is trying to reflect and mirror and show you the joy. And in that we have brotherhood, sisterhood, comradeship, the sense that, as art and pictures and shapes play together, create harmony and perhaps disharmony, that even in the act that we can have a moment to view something without actually having an opinion is a beautiful thing. And so what Visetti taught me was, and I use this a lot when I'm creating, perhaps it'll help you, be opinion free. And there's many spaces for opinion. There's a lot of things that happen with that, whether you're on the receiving end or on the creative end. But opinion isn't the reason that I create, and it's not that I create solely on reaction or what's popular and what's going on. So, in that, I guess I will say goodbye with my wave of my magic wand. In the visual, I have a wand with me. It's actually quite beautiful. It's washed up on the, what arguably some may say is not a beach, but on the bluffs. And it was straight, like quite straight for driftwood. I had painted it since, and I don't even know how it occurred. I was, okay, last little thing to spread some magic in your day, hopefully. I was meditating in the winter down at the bluffs and watching the water come in. It's something I do. It creates a lot of calm for me and a lot of connection to the planet, and knowing that we are water and I am water and the waves and me are one. And then this stuff washed up in front of me, almost like the Lady of the Lake in Excalibur. And it floated right to the shoreline and it just sat there. And I thought, does this mean I'm supposed to pick that up? And yeah, I've had it for a while now, and it's gone with me to many ceremonies. It's been in the hands of many magical people and indigenous people and ceremonies and festivals such as the Festival. It's been to 2004, 2008, 2010, 2016, and that's the other thing I will share about art. Perhaps this is just a stick. Perhaps it is. But it's been imbued with perhaps the consciousness of the ocean, the consciousness of the will to create and to channel your energy into something just like Feng Shui, where I set an intention that this object will hold my intentions and expand them into the actual conscious reality where all yeses may invite you to this beautiful mystical plane where everything is lighting up and showing you possibility is real, and you need only to sit down, decide what you want with the end in mind. And if I have helped you remember that, I'm very happy. And with that, I'll end the podcast there. And so I'd like to also touch on and thank people that are willing to put me on their payroll as a patron in the sense of helping them with their projects. So I'm very thankful that that's in the works. I can be reached at linktree/VibrationOfTheOne. That's in the description down there. And yes, thank you for being part of this world. Embrace your creative faculty, your ability to expand within and shine a light to others who also want that. I believe it's our natural inclination to expand and evolve. And so, thank you, everybody. Good night.